Welcome to Soul Elevation, guiding your ascension to new heights. I'm your host, Kara Goodwin. I loved recording this session with Oliver Dolby. He has fascinating insights to share about healing and the potential for us to heal deeper, fast, and in an expansive way that even helps others. Oliver has a remarkable story about his own healing journey and how he's developed the ability to see and change energy for his clients. After we finished recording, he asked for permission to adjust some energy he was seeing around my neck, which was causing my physical problems, and I noticed the change immediately. I'm telling you, this is powerful stuff. Oliver Dolby, known as the Soul Doctor, is an energy healer and spiritual guide with nearly 3 decades of experience helping people to awaken to their true potential. Oliver has devoted his life to facilitating profound personal transformation through energy healing, spiritual insight, and multidimensional awareness. As the creator of the Etheric trauma release method, Oliver specializes in clearing deep emotional and energetic blockages that keep individuals from living freely and fully. Before we start, I'd love to invite you to explore the many offerings waiting for you at karagoodwin.com. You'll find my book, Your Authentic Awakening, a collection of free guided meditations and other resources to support you wherever you are on your spiritual path. You can discover upcoming summits and workshops designed to connect you with like-hearted souls and expand your consciousness in real time. And I really appreciate your support with the show. The algorithms really favor shows where people are liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. So please know that your active participation helps to bring high-vibe content to the forefront, allowing it to affect more people. And now, enjoy this episode. Well, Oliver, thank you so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Thanks for coming on Soul Elevation.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's a real pleasure to be here, Kara.
Well, I'm fascinated by the work that you do. We were on the same summit not so long ago on Portal to Ascension. And I had such a good time with your talk. So I'm really excited that you're here now. I'd like to start with healing in all its forms, because you're very focused, your work is very focused on healing. What are some of the most powerful ways that you've discovered in how to help people to heal? And then I'm also curious about the evolution of that, because I'm sure it has taken different forms over time.
Wow, you start with a big question there. It's like, what is healing?
We're going right
How do we
in.
go with healing? And how do we start with healing?
Yeah.
Well, of course, healing is a huge topic. And you can get lost down many, many different rabbit holes. So
Let's see where it takes us.
just going to try and keep it simple from my perspective of how I see healing and how it works for me in the work that I do and with the clients that I see. So I used to believe that healing used to take a long time. We were sort of trained as kids that it would take time for things to heal. If we sprained our ankle, it would take a few weeks to heal. If we cut ourselves, it would be a few weeks to heal. And we believed that, and we started to create our life around that particular belief. And then I started reading about people who'd grown back fingers, or children that had cut themselves and healed instantaneously, or they'd lost their arm and grown a new arm or a foot or a toe or teeth. And I thought,
Like human beings.
how do
I know starfish do this.
starfish
but
do it?
human beings,
Humans do it as well. But how do
Really?
those kids do that? Well,
Yeah, how did they do it?
they didn't know that it wasn't possible.
Wow.
And so when you change your belief, things start to become possible. Things that you thought or believed to be impossible become possible. And that's what really got me on the sort of journey of healing was, why does healing have to take so long? Why do we have to keep living things, repeating things, going through that pain or that trauma or that event or that mindset? And then I started to look at the physical body. What is happening inside the physical body? Now, of course, I'm doing it energetically. I'm not necessarily using any devices, any machines or anything like that. I'm just using what I know. It started off very simply. It started with biofeedback, so muscle testing, kinesiology. I then moved into using dowsing, pendulums, dowsing rods even, to measure people's energetic fields. And more recently, it's now I can just sense it, see it, know it. So when I look at people now, I can see what's happening inside their aura and how to clear those blocks that are keeping them stuck in a cycle. And so the journey through the real journey into healing was me healing myself. I grew up as an asthmatic, uh, reliant on an inhaler, reliant on the drugs that went with that. The safety blanket was the inhaler in my pocket, and emotions, exercise could all induce an asthmatic attack. Um, and even though I was very outdoorsy, I always had this inhaler in my pocket. And one of my clients at the time, and this is when I did a different job completely, when I was a rock climbing instructor, one of my clients said, "You've got to go and see this doctor." And this is the age of 20, 21, 22. And he turned out to be a chiropractor, but he also did energy healing. And by,
And you were 21 or
yeah,
22.
yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
I at first I thought you meant 2021 or 2022, but I was like, no, I think we're talking about like 30 years
Oh, we're
ago,
talking
right?
30 years ago, yes.
Yeah.
30 plus years ago. And this chiropractor did some energetic healing on me and sent me out the door with a little bag of homeopathics. And about a week later, I realized that I hadn't actually used the inhaler. And in fact, it was the last time I'd used the inhaler was just before that. And that's when I realized that there was more to the world than just what we see face to face, what we read about, what we see. There's other stuff that's happening in the background that we can't necessarily understand, but it's definitely happening. And it definitely changed my body. And that's what opened the door to my journey into this world of energetic healing, or healing as I see it. And 30 plus years later, I now see the world very, very differently to what I did as a young man. I see that everything is healable, achievable with the right mindset and the right uh, ingredients into the body to look after the body.
Mm.
You know, you can't expect to
Hmm.
heal if you're just living on junk food. You've got to get some good nutrients into the body so the body can support the energy that you're creating. And this journey was a real dive in through my own navigation of all the different techniques that I was suddenly exposed to, all the different healing modalities that are out there that I wanted to learn about. And some were amazing, and others were not so good, and some were maybe just considered nowadays I consider to be a waste of money. But at the time, they really shaped me and how we all grow and change through the experiences we have. And in the last sort of few years, I've really started to look at the way beliefs structure us. As I started with beliefs, how beliefs structure us into if we change our belief, we can change the world around us. Well, we change our beliefs, we change ourselves. And the more I've thought about it, the more I've researched, I realized that most of what people believe comes from their parents or their grandparents or their schooling or their community or their church or their religious organization or the politicians that are out there. And that's just one person's point of view. And if we change ourselves, change our beliefs, we don't necessarily have to believe what everybody else is believing around us. But what comes with that, of course, is we change our beliefs. No one else believes us. But we've got to be comfortable with knowing that we've changed and not really caring what the others think. And so this is where I started to work with more the emotional side of things. How do people deal with emotions? How can we look at the emotional side so that we're actually comfortable being ourselves? We're comfortable being in our truth, in ourselves, rather than trying to compete with everybody else around us. And that's where the emotional aspect comes in, the language we use, the idea of self-empowering yourself before you self-empower anybody else, the idea of loving yourself before you love anybody else. And that, in a nutshell, is sort of how I've steered my way through quite a complex uh, roller coaster of healing and healing modalities.
Wow. So now you have, you're kind of known as the soul doctor. and you've got the etheric trauma release method. And so this combines a lot of the things that the components that you were talking about in terms of the emotions and how we speak to ourselves, and then the dietary aspect. And
You're right. It is exactly that. It first really came to me when I really start to see people's energy. And I just want to stop this right there and say a lot of people say, oh, you see people's energy. You must have been born like that. You must be gifted. No, when I started this journey, I saw nothing. I didn't feel energy. I didn't see energy. I didn't know anything about energy. And as I've worked with it on an ongoing basis, I guess over the last 30 years or so, I've really started to sense and see more. And the more I've
really,
healed, more
and so did that like come online as a byproduct,
as a
or is that
byproduct.
something that you were really trying to have happen?
I tried in those early days to really to see what, I want to see what's happening, and I couldn't see anything. I tried to feel, I couldn't feel anything. I, I had a sort of a knowingness inside, but there
Mhm.
was no, and I used to get the feedback from my clients through what they told me, through looking at their facial expressions and getting biofeedback from their bodies, using kinesiology, using muscle testing. So that's how I got the feedback. And I used to try meditations and courses on trying to see, and I saw nothing. But the hindsight of looking back now, I needed to work on myself rather than my clients. And the more I've worked on myself, the more I've cleared and healed Oliver, the more I've been able to see. So it's been a very gradual process of seeing. And so that's why I tell my clients anybody can see, anybody can hear if they want to.
So tell us, what is that like for you? Like, how do you perceive the energy? So for instance, I just had to excuse myself for coughing. I'm overcoming something that I am right now. You're telling me we don't need to keep going with this. We can do this. You don't have to have a healing time, which I'm loving. I'm like, yeah, let's just be done. But like energetically, I'm assuming that you can perceive that there's some sort of imbalance within me
Yes, and
energetically.
I can, but I don't think it'd be fair for me to discuss your energy here on this podcast, right? Initially, there's clearly something with the throat, okay, which anybody could probably tell. I'd have to look a little bit deeper than that,
Mhm.
and I generally don't. No, not generally. I never look without people first giving me permission.
Okay,
I
so
don't
it's
want,
not, so you can turn it on and
I
off.
turn it on and off. I don't want to invade
Oh,
people, and the reason I turned off
yeah.
is because when I was younger and I started seeing and really starting to see, I saw a lot of things I didn't want to see. So
Mm.
a lot of people think what I see is like that beautiful aura photograph that you get from the mind body spirit show festival, whatever it might be. But I don't see that. What I see first is the stuff that shouldn't be there. So
Mm.
I see the attachments, the heaviness, the weight of the world, the entities, the gremlins, the parasites, the traumas, the fears, which are not all bright and sparkly. Okay, they tend to be pretty grey, sometimes black, and sometimes pretty disgusting. And
Mm.
it took me a long time to realize that what I was seeing was not how everybody else saw it, but it's
Oh,
just
interesting.
a way that I see it, so that I know that I'm on track. And maybe I've trained myself that way. I don't know. On track to do the work that I do, that
Hmm.
primarily do. Is just to make space for that person. So
Yeah. Oh, that's fascinating. So when you talk about being able to see the energy of a person, you're that's how it's being presented to you, is like kind of from an entity perspective, or like what's ready to be released.
okay, so if when people come to see me, then I see
Mhm.
what they need to go through. If I'm
Mhm.
just looking at a crowd of people, I will see stuff that I generally don't want to deal with. So let's say
Interesting.
that there's a whole bunch of people coming out of a nightclub. They're drugged up, they're high, they're drunk. Uh, I will see all sorts of parasites on them, energetic parasites, which are feeding on that energy. Okay, you'll see things across their face, around their throat, on their backs, crawling all over their bodies, almost like imagine black spiders coming out, crawling over a body, surrounded with giant slugs. And that's what I sense and see. It's stuff out of a horror movie. It's stuff out of those nightmare paintings by some of the classic artists who did those sort of ghouls and gremlins crawling out of stuff. I see all that. So that's generally why I don't look, right? Not
Okay.
okay. If there was something like that in your space, it had made itself visible now because we've been talking for a while.
Mhm.
So it's not in your space. You're okay. Okay.
Oh, phew.
Okay.
Wow, that's so fascinating. And I I love how you talk about that you've learned how to do this and that people can learn how to do this. It's not something that you're born with, because I think that that's a common thing that a lot of people think, is that if it hasn't shown up by now, it's not going to show up, you know, in terms of abilities.
I'm a late starter. Okay. So it didn't happen till probably full time, or the ability to turn it on and off at will, probably maybe 8 years ago.
Wow.
So I'm 53 now, so somebody else can work it out.
I love that. So I'd love to explore a little bit more about how you came into this work and your awakening journey. So I love the story of the homeopathy and the chiropractor and how you overcame asthma, which is huge. Um, what has your awakening journey been like in the 30 years, 30 plus years since?
Well, I was very, very, very lucky. And I had this incredible student because I used to teach rock climbing. And she was an older woman. She was probably 20 years older than me, maybe a little bit more. And she was a fantastic client. And she was the one that introduced me to the chiropractor.
Oh,
And since that day, we became really good friends. And then she would say, Oliver, he's teaching module one now. Should we go and do it? And I'd go, oh, yep, okay, we'll go and do it. Then she'd say, and that was the first one. That's what really sort of got me going. That sort of got that taste for it then, where I could start to work with people, get the biofeedback from their bodies, play around with this idea of putting hands on the body and channeling energy into them, and see what happened and see how they responded. Uh, that led to her calling up and saying, "Module two is happening this week. Um, are you in?" And I was like, "Oh, rock climbing instructor." I was sort of, just having enough money to pay my rent and living life as a 20-year-old does, and didn't really have any sense of money and how to look after it. And I'd say, "Oh no, I'll have to save up for that. I'll catch it the next time round." And she says, "Don't worry, I've paid for it already. You booked. You're coming." And
wow.
so this beautiful soul became this great aunt in a way who was looking after me and funneling me down this track without me even knowing it into this idea of healing. And we became very, very close. Yes, I meet with her once a week. We'd practice on each other. We share our stories of what happened and hadn't happened. And she was fascinated by the whole world of language and neurolinguistic programming and hypnosis and the one day she tells me, right, we're going to the States. I went, well, I've booked clients that week. She says, no, take the whole month off. We're going to the States. And we went to the States and we studied neurolinguistic programming. So I had this whole energetic side of things. And now I had the language side. And when I got back, I had this great idea that I was going to go straight into being a full-time healer. But of course, it was much easier being a rock climbing instructor because that's what I knew. And I just carried on with that. But I did start to merge the two together. I started to take the energetic side and the language side and merge them together. And was that merging them together that really awoken something more with me? Life throws things at you all the time. And my great aunt, this who was amazing, adopted great aunt, should we say, uh, ended up passing away far too soon. And and uh, it was I never really got a chance to really thank her for everything she'd given me, because I didn't even realize she'd given it to me until now, when I see how all those pieces that I'd learned through her the different modalities we studied, the hypnosis, the timeline therapy, the body alignment technique, the EMF technique, things we'd done together had shaped me into what I now work with people. I still took a little bit of journeying work and a lot more trial and error because I've made mistakes. I've made plenty of mistakes along the way, and I've had to deal with them all myself. So I've had to deal with everything that I've faced. So all the things that have gone wrong, all the traumas, all the fears, all the anxieties, all the stresses, I've had to face head on. And through that facing those things, I've really got an understanding of how I work and tools that really work, and then how I can help those people that come into my life with those same tools. And so that's what got me developing the etheric trauma release method, because the energy around us is a quick snapshot very quickly of what someone's going through. And if we can start to remove the trauma from the etheric, it has an immediate effect on the body. So the etheric being that first layer around you, but it's just more general term for everything that I see in that process. And when I see it, then we can make changes. And people always ask, well, how do you make a change? Well, the change is as quick as turning a light bulb on. It's that quick. If you can think it, you've changed it. But most of us think it and change it back again straight away. So when I work with manipulated energy, I started actually manipulating, clear out those traumas, those energetic blocks from the person's energetic body. And that's how the change starts to take place. Generally, with
So,
most people, it's clearing the mud first, the weight of the world, their beliefs, their worries, their fears, their anxieties, their stresses, before we actually get to the core of the issue.
well, so how much of your work is your you're doing things versus you're training your client in order to how to how to think, or how to how to change and hold their beliefs or so forth?
So I learned the basics through the training I did. I learned ways that worked in the 19th century. I worked ways that worked in the 20th century. I studied some old trainings and they work, but I needed to take all those old things and reinvent them in the 21st century. So the way I would have cleared someone's aura in the past would have been by individually stepping in and taking out all those individual spots, entities, beliefs, thoughts out of a person's energy field. Now I've developed a technique that will do that within a few seconds so that I can clear someone's space quickly. Just like we can order a book from Amazon and it'll take same day delivery probably, or download it immediately on your device. Or you could wait 3 months for something very special to come down the line. Which option are you going to take? You're going to take the instantaneous on my Kindle, on my iPad, straight away version, rather than going the whole long route of waiting. And so why should we wait for our healing to take place? So why should I spend 1 hour clearing your aura for you to come back next week with a dirty aura again, right? Because that's all I managed to do in that 1 hour session. So let me find a way that I can clean the aura in a few seconds, then strengthen your energy field so that you're strong enough not to get dirty again, not to have life come into your space and start to control you again. So we clear the space very quickly, work on strengthening the space so that you now are solid in your space and that the rest of the world can't get in and start to undo the work that you're doing for yourself. So really just changing the perspective of how we look at the world and energy. And by the way, those old healing modalities, they work. They're great, but they're slow. They're very slow. It's like listening to a podcast on a quarter speed, right? It drags. You'll get to the point eventually, but do you really want to wait all that time? And this is where a lot of what I see out there is good, but slow. And people don't have the time. Well, I don't have the time to see people forever. I want to get them in and out as quickly as possible so that they can be the best version of themselves. So they can stand in their true power and go, yay, this is me, and I'm happy as being me.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So let's talk about the role of our true essence. What tell us about our true essence, and then how does this play into the healing work?
Well, I think so many people limit themselves. They limit themselves maybe to a title, a job title, or boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, child. And our title is just a small aspect of ourselves. And as soon as we start to see ourselves as that title, we've stopped our growth. We've stopped who we can potentially be. So when I work with people, it's really about changing that, because we're far more than we could ever possibly imagine. You are greater, brighter, more wise than we could ever possibly imagine. Right? It's like we're looking at the world through an old Windows, I don't know, 5 computer and trying to make sense of a supercomputer. Just can't do it. Right? So we've got to start changing the way we look at ourselves. We are more than meets the eye. We are more than the reflection we see in the mirror. We are more than we get told by our peers, by our friends, by our family. We are more than the role we do. And yet so many of us just limit ourselves to that particular role. I'm Oliver and I'm a healer. Well, no, I'm not just a healer. Yet there's so many other titles I could add to that. So why not just get rid of the title completely? And so when we look at people that have been suffering, people they love the story of their trauma, right? So many people love their healing journeys. And what they're doing is starting to recreate themselves in that journey again. Hey, I'm a survivor. I survived the most terrible illness possible. And you keep broadcasting that to everybody that'll listen. And your body then goes, okay, survivor. Let's give you something else to survive. And along comes something else. Something else is going to force you to be in that healing mode again, in that survival mode again. So change your story. A lot of people talk about changing their story, but they don't change it radically enough. They don't leave the chapter open. They try and close each chapter, each page. Leave the chapter open. Let it write in ways that you couldn't possibly imagine. Expand your mind to the next level. Just let go of the outcome. It's not to say don't have goals. Of course, have goals, but don't finalize it there. And I'm sure that you know when you don't know how far things are going to happen. You don't know who your next guest on the podcast is be. You don't know what rabbit hole they're going to take you down or the listeners down. But it's exciting to find out which way they go. You're not stopping it at the full stop and going, that's it, we're done here. Let's change to, whatever the next question might be.
Right. Yeah, I love that. So, are there any kind of stories that, speaking of stories, that come to mind in terms of the transformation that you've seen with your clients, with the work that you've been doing?
So there's always a few that sort of pop up. One of them is I'm passionate about the heart. I'm passionate about healing hearts, fixing hearts, mending broken hearts together, people learning to love themselves first. All right, very passionate about that. And I remember having a young man, gay man, moved to the UK. When he announced to his family that he was gay, his parents disowned him. He came to the UK, had a great life, but he could never go back home. Or the communication with his family, with his mother in particular, was very difficult. Very difficult. And he came to me for a heart healing. Let's call it simple as that, a heart healing, where I work both on the heart and the soul to bring him back into alignment, to start to clear all the broken bits. Because our hearts break. And so there's broken bits lying around. So let's bring all those broken bits back, recreate that picture, and so the heart can be healed again. And over, I think it was a week or so, he really came back to himself alive. He was going home for the first time in many years, and on his return, he said to his mother, "Do you know that I love you?" And she completely broke down and loved him back like she'd always wanted to. Uh, and so, in healing his heart, he changed, and that amplified into her life, his family's life. And so, the healing was for not just one person, it was for the family itself. And now she's very proud of her gay son and all his friends. And it always touches me, that story.
That's like magic.
Yeah, absolutely. You're a
I
magician.
love it.
I'm a magician. We're all magicians.
Yeah.
Let's
Well,
just believe it.
I love the multi-layered aspect of that and the timelessness and the how you were talking about writing our story and keeping it open, and then it's like he just went for to heal himself, and then there was this unexpected like lineage healing even that he experienced. That's so amazing.
It's exactly that, and it's like the healing ripples out, and it
Mm,
starts to touch people that you don't even know, and you will never know as an individual in ways that you'd never need to understand either. And I think that's one of the human's brain's weaknesses is we always want to know the why. Why? But why? But why? But why? It's that little child asking the why question because we're curious. But at a certain point, we've got to just let go of that why and just allow it to happen. And
yeah.
in my experience, now that I've just let go of the why, I now can step back and look at it and go, now I understand the why. But I couldn't understand the why as a little boy, as a 20, 30, 40-year-old, whatever. I couldn't understand the why of all those changes that had taken place. Now, looking back, I understand. And of course, I only understand at that level. I'm sure in a few more years' time, I'll probably look back and understand far more.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I'm
Well,
okay
and
with
I
that.
love what you're talking about too is the heart intelligence versus the mind intelligence. And so there's that piece of it too, with just how important the heart is in your work, but also in your own personal work, and how that need, I mean, I feel that too, where I have historically just want to know, my mind wants to know so much. And it's been a process for me to release that need and to trust more the heart, the intelligence of the heart. Um, and there is this masculine feminine aspect to that too. And I know that the Egyptian pantheon has become, your work has expanded into that role. So I want to talk about that. But there's this goddess Isis element to that too, which I feel like is informing that. So I just feel like you're weaving this beautiful tapestry for us.
Well, the
So,
first the first thing is you weave it inside of yourself. Okay, so I always had this belief that to work with a goddess, you had to be a goddess. You had to be female, and being a man coming from an all boys family. You've got three younger brothers, so there's no feminine energy apart from a very very strong mother energy, which would not have been considered to be um, well. We didn't understand a female basically coming out of that home. We took us years to sort of find ourselves in that. But I realized that we're both. It took a male and female to create us. So we have both energies inside us. Doesn't matter what you show on the outside, doesn't matter what you look like, how you decorate yourself. We are both. That's the only way we come into this world is through both. So we have both energies inside of us. So why should it just be limited to the goddess or the god side, the male or the female? Why can't we weave those energies together so that we then become balanced? And when we are starting to be balanced, when we are as much male and female in, let's say, 50%, let's say, we're fully balanced. It doesn't change who we are physically, but it does bring us into that place of centeredness where we're not being thrown off the path all the time, not being thrown out of the way. And that's key to really being able to stand in your ground, stand in your presence, stand in you, who you believe, who you want to be, who you want to be able to stand up for your truth. And truth is one of those wonderful things, is because my truth now is very different to my truth a year ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago. We can obviously see the truth as a 16-year-old to the truth now will be very, very different. But actually, our truth is different week to week, depending on what we're taking inside and how we're expressing that. So I'm happy to speak my truth to you right now. Tomorrow, my truth might be different, but that's okay. Because hopefully, through that process, I've learned to be a better truth rather than a bad truth. Does it make sense in a crazy sort of way?
Yes. Yeah. Well, so let's talk about the divine feminine, the role of the divine feminine in healing. What have you discovered with this?
Well, it was a few years ago that I really connected to Isis, goddess of the left being the female side to the body, which I didn't realize at the time. Of course, we always think that the right brain is the female side, and yes, it is, but it crosses over the body down the left side, so the goddess of the left, the female side of the body. And it really taught me about the idea of love and how love needs to be first. How, as much as we like to control things with the linear mind, the masculine side, this is the way it is, boom, 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 A, B, C, D. The goddess was saying, hey, no, 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 you don't have to follow just a linear path. It doesn't, you don't have to follow the map exactly as it is. You can touch on all those aspects at different times. And so I learned to, rather than look at step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, look at the whole and realize that the whole can be touched from the inside from any point. And yet it doesn't always have to be going in a straight line. So we can touch the whole, different aspects of it, but it's still part of the whole. Where traditionally the masculine approach is we've got to do step 1, step 2, step 3. Very logical. And we need the logic, by the way. We do need it because there's certain things that are logic, but at the same time, we also need that feminine aspect, that softer aspect, that rounded aspect, that creation element to take that logic and to create it into something better. And so through what I do is I create new ways of healing, new ways of looking at the old that are going to work better for us right now with the energy that we're in right now. Of course, there's so much energy coming to this planet. There's so much change. Us humans have got to keep going, keep adapting, keep changing, keep growing. Otherwise, we're going to be taken over. Not one could taken over. I don't believe that, but that we're going to be. We don't be left behind. We want to just keep expanding, keep learning, keep growing, keep changing, and for me, that's so exciting, and that's really what Isis, goddess of the left, taught me, and I still work with her, on a daily basis. Along with a whole bunch of other of the Egyptian pantheon. They are my, I guess, go-to deities or whatever you want to call them, really. But they're not really. They're my team. They're my team. Just like we have people that work with us in the physical, I have people that work with me in the unseen world, in the other side of the veil, in the higher planes, and they are just as real, but you can't grab them. But their minds and their humor and their light and their energetic physicality is just as real as humans to me.
Mhm.
And that's great because I learn a lot. We discuss a lot. I get suggestions thrown at me, and I will disagree with them, and eventually we'll come to middle ground because we have the unseen world, the Oliver world, and I guess I'm the representative on the world here, and so we sort of sometimes don't see eye to eye, but it's exciting and it's all about growth and change.
So you mentioned about the times that we're in and all of the energy that's coming in. And I'm curious with your ability to perceive energy, and this has been a very palpable time. 2025, I feel, has been a unique year. And I think we might be into 2026 by the time this episode is released. But can you talk about the changing energies that you've been perceiving, and then maybe how has that changed, the work that you've been seeing with your clients, or how that might be perceived in more of your individual life?
Well, I think we can all say that time has really sort of sped up, hasn't it? We've all noticed how
Oh my
time is
gosh.
disappearing. Even
Yeah.
though we're enjoying every moment every day, we're looking by and going, well, a year's almost gone by. How is that even possible? Because it just feels like yesterday was the new year.
Amen.
And it's not only happening for adults, it's happening for kids as well. And I remember growing up and the summer holidays were a long, long time. And now they're going, oh, I can't believe it's over so quickly, because they're also just experiencing this sort of time that just is speeding up. And again, it's a choice. Okay. It is happening because we're so busy. We've got so much happening to us. There's so much new energy coming to the planet. There's so many, from the astrological point of view, but also from things that happen on the planet. There's light coming to the planet, streaming in all the time, and it's causing us to wake up. It's causing even those that don't want to wake up to wake up. It's like that they've hit snooze for 5, 6 times, and now there's no more snooze. Okay, that alarm's beeping, and so they have to wake up, and they're doing it like most people wake up in the morning, tired, heavy, eyes half closed. Do I have to get up? Where's my coffee? All that sort of stuff. And so we're seeing more and more of that happen. But it is happening, and it's happening beautifully in divine timing. Okay, it's happening like it's supposed to happen. When I was younger, I really wanted to take that magic wand and dab it in the earth, and we'd all wake up, and it'd be peace on earth, Shambhala, whatever you want to call it. But we can't do that. It's too much of a shift. So we've got people do it gradually, and we're doing it. We're doing it. It's happening, and it's happening faster and faster and faster. And so I don't like to read the crystal ball. I don't like to predict, because predictions change very, very quickly. Right? You can choose to do something completely different. That's okay. I have no issue with people doing different things. But I know that the world, even though it seems like it's getting heavier and darker and we're seeing more corruption out there, it actually is getting lighter. It is getting brighter. We're just in the mud at the moment. We're in the cloud, right? But you've got to clear the dust, right? You've got to sweep the house and it gets all dusty. And then when the dust all settled, or you clean it all out, suddenly the air is clearer, suddenly the energy is purer. And that's what's happening. We're in that cleansing process where things are being cleaned. We're seeing things that we don't necessarily want to see, things in the public eye, in politics, which are being brought to the surface. We're seeing a lot of stuff, corruption coming up, and we're thinking that we're in a worse off place, but actually we're in a better place, because that corruption needed to be exposed. It needs to be cleaned away. It needs to be wiped away, washed away, cleansed away, expelled, before we can really rebirth and bring the new growth that we're experiencing into the world. And that's where we're at. And that's exciting. I think it's so exciting, because there's just so much magic all the way around us, everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's something positive if you look for it.
I love it. I love what you're saying about the corruption and the exposure, and how that makes us feel psychologically, like, oh my gosh, we're spiraling because we're seeing all of these things that we couldn't see before. And more people are seeing it, which makes it more visible. So there are people who have been trying to say that things like this have been going on for a long time. And this corruption that we're seeing has been happening for a very long time, even if as individuals we're only just starting to see it.
Yeah.
So it's that exposure of it where it seems like it's something new, and it's like, oh my God, look what has just happened. But it's like, no, actually, we only just are, some people are only just starting to see it, which makes you think that it's new, but it's only new to us, or the people who are just starting to see it.
Exactly.
And that's a really important point to bring up, because it's like, okay, and the more people, exactly what you're saying, but it just like landed so beautifully, where it's just like, because we are seeing it now, because it is getting attention now, because it is getting that exposure, that actually is bringing more light in, and it is giving it the ability for us to do something about it, to clear it out.
And
It's so
it
beautiful.
causes us to want to stand together to go up against it, right?
Yes.
So when we come together as as a as a collective, and doesn't necessarily mean doing a march or a, whatever the word is in
Revolt
revolt
or
or something like that. It's not that. It's about staying in our hearts and just sending out that light and that love
Mhm.
to everybody, knowing that the politicians are just different from us. They're just leading a different story. They've got different plan, right? They're helping us to awaken by maybe being corrupt, maybe not telling the truth, maybe struggling to find themselves. They're causing everybody else to wake up and notice them. But it's also a very, very bad time to be trying to hide something from anybody, because
Mm.
you will be found out. It's just the energy does not allow secrets anymore. I always, when I was younger, heard about this time when there'd be no more secrets. Well, it's now. We're living it. It's
Mm.
happening. You're trying to hide anything, clear it, heal your trauma, heal that stuff inside of you that you're hiding from yourself, because it will come out. It will come out.
Mhm.
You will be,
Yeah.
it will catch you. It'll catch you
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And
And that has been such a theme for me in this year, in 2025, where it just has shown up, like traumas, for example, that I've buried for a long time. It wasn't that I necessarily was trying to hide it, but I just buried it like right away. And this year, it has been just very organically like, remember this? And it's like, oh my God, I totally forgot about, I don't want to think about that, and then this whole reconciliation. So I love that. I love that you're bringing that up at the collective level, but also just how applicable it is to us as individuals.
absolutely.
It all goes together.
And you have to start with yourself.
Hmm.
You have to start with you. It's you
Right.
first. It's got to be you first. Always work with yourself first. Can you heal a little part of you today before healing anything else in your life? It's got to be you. And I think we're kept so busy these days, so distracted, that we forget about ourselves, and we sort of remember ourselves just before bed. And we'll go, okay, we'll fix ourselves tomorrow morning. But of course, tomorrow morning the alarm goes off. There's all those things that have to be done, the chores, the work, the issues, the drama, right? Because think about most people's work. It's the whole day spent putting out fires. They do very little work on themselves, if any at all. So can we take 5 minutes at lunchtime just to switch off, to turn the phone off, to actually step away from our desks, to go and breathe some fresh air, to go and see what's happening outside, to look at the clouds and see if you can see any shapes. I mean, I've got a beautiful daughter, and it's amazing to see her find beauty and magic in everything. And we've got to go back to being those children that sense the wonder in everything. And because that
Mhm.
brings joy and that changes you. And when you change,
Beautiful.
the world around you changes. That's when your tribe
Absolutely.
comes together. That's when you find those like-minded souls. That's when we come together and we're able to then maybe do a group meditation, maybe you know meet up on the astral, and who knows what we do in the astral. But anyway, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, Oliver, this has just been so amazing. I've really loved connecting with you and hearing your story and your method and learning so much. How can people connect with you and find out more?
OliverDolby.com is my website, and then on most social media channels, it's Soul Doctor Official. So at the Soul Doctor Official, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I think that's about it, really. YouTube as well. YouTube, I've got a YouTube channel that I'm not that busy on, but I am. It's there. It's all there. It's all there. Soul
I
Doctor
love it.
official.
And do you have any events coming up? Are you going to be at New Living Expo?
The next event I'm doing is going to be Glastonbury.
Oh,
So
like the festival,
that's
the big music
no,
festival?
it's one that Portal to Ascension is doing. Neil is doing, and
Oh, oh,
that's in August next year. That's the next big event for me. I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be amazing. Lots of
yeah,
fantastic speakers and really, really magical place. The energy there is really, really
yeah.
powerful. And
Yes.
so,
Avalon.
yes, yes, it's
Yeah.
all it all happens there. It all happens,
Yeah. Do you get down there much?
and not as much as I'd like to, but you know what happens? You get stuck, don't you? We all get stuck in our little routine.
I know. Well, and I was mentioning that my in-laws are there in England, and I would love to go to Glastonbury, and I never have, and we go. I mean, we don't go like all the time, but I'm no stranger to England, and I've I've tried to work it out where I'm like, how can we see family and because it's as for as small of an island as it is, it's a lot to navigate,
There is
you know.
so much here, and there's so much magic as well. Just outside Glastonbury, there's other stones that are just as impressive. You
Mhm.
know, there's energy everywhere. I mean, this is almost, I think, really where we really got to grips and learnt about magic and magical beings and the idea of wizardry and
Yeah.
Merlin and all those good things. And I mean, that stuff I really, really love. I mean, it's just way up my, I just love it. You know, it's
Yeah.
anything magical, anything out of the box is break that box, throw the box away, and let's see how we can play with magic. And we all
I
do.
love it.
Everybody
Mhm.
does. You know, children are magical in what they can
Yeah.
manifest. Right?
Absolutely.
Let's go back to that.
Yes.
Let's going back to being magical ourselves as adults.
You are speaking my language. I love it.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you so much, Oliver. What a joy to be with you. Thanks for coming on.
Absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed speaking to you, Cara, as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Soul Elevation. If someone in your life would be inspired or uplifted by what you heard today, please take a moment to share it with them. These are the kinds of conversations that ripple out and elevate collective consciousness. And if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the powerful episodes ahead. Your presence, energy, and support really help amplify this mission of raising frequency and anchoring in a more awakened humanity. Thank you for your support, and I'll see you for the next episode of Soul Elevation.